Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some French country garden thrift flips. My first project is this little planter caddy. It's got a variety of uses. We're going to give it an update, and I'm actually going to be doing a workshop on this, so it's almost a little bit like a trial when I do these sorts of projects. My first step is to paint the entire thing with Dixie Belle's drop cloth chalk mineral paint. I'm going to paint the entire piece, also the little planter boxes as well. And please excuse my somewhat nasal voice today. My allergies are really acting up, but I really wanted to get this video out for you guys. Remember, you can find a full product list in the description of this video and all of these products on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Once my paint was completely dry, I came in with some 220 grit sandpaper to lightly distress the piece back. I want some of that wood showing through. I'm then going to be using some of Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in clear, and I've just got a little bit on my finger and I'm going around the edges where I want to be able to do some wet distressing. This just makes that job a little bit easier. I'm then going to be using Fusion's Vintage Laurel Milk Paint. I'm measuring out a cap full of the milk paint, and then I'm measuring out equal parts water and stirring it well. I'm then going to be using a small brush to apply the milk paint. We are going for a layered look here, so I want to be able to see some of that white showing through and also some of that wood. I'm going to be working in sections. I'm going to paint a section and then I'm going to get my heat gun and I'm going to speed up the drying process to get some of that wonderful crackle that we love. For this piece, I'm only going to be painting the caddy itself. I'm not going to be painting the little planter boxes in this vintage laurel. I really like the idea of a two-toned project, so we're going to have the wonderful green paired with the drop cloth. Once my paint was dry, I used a wet wipe to come in and wipe back in the areas that I knew I'd put the wax. You can see that white starting to peek through. It's really going to give it a wonderfully aged look. It will look like that vintage laurel has worn off and weathered over time, and then the white paint underneath has peeked through, and then some of the wood. And then we're going to move on to the little box planters. I'm going to be using IOD's Antiquities stamp with these today, and I'm using IOD's permanent black ink. I'm inking up my stamp and then I'm going to very carefully position it over the top of the box. Now I'm positioning it a little bit higher up because when the boxes actually sit in the little caddy, I want that image to be a bit more visible. I don't want it to be half hidden. So I'm repeating the same process, inking up my stamp and hovering it where I want it to go, and then pressing down. You always want to have one hand holding that stamp in place while the other moves around and applies pressure, and then you want to lift it straight up. When you're stamping, always check that you clean off any excess ink that's gone where you don't want it to go, because it will show up once you apply pressure to your stamp. Next, I want to add a design to the front of our little planter holder there. So I'm inking up part of another stamp from the Antiquities stamp, and then I am wiping off the excess stamp from the areas I don't want. I just want some of that text on the front. All of these pieces will be sealed with easy peasy spray wax. Next, I'm going to be attaching some little feet that I got from Temu. I've used these before, so I will make sure to link them down in the description. They just add a little something special. They really elevate the piece, and I am just going to be screwing these in by hand. The wood that I'm working with is not very hard, so I can do this, and I'm just going to take my time so as to not burr the screws. Before sealing the little planter boxes, I did take some 220 grit sandpaper to lightly distress them back. And here's a look at our French country planter. I love how this turned out. That Fusion milk paint can make anything look vintage. Those IOD stamps go beautifully, and those little feet really take this up a notch. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments. For our next project, I'm going to be using this frame that I thrifted. My first step is to remove the artwork. Someone had taped it in. It wasn't a very nice looking job. We don't actually need the backing anyway. I'm going to be making this look more like a window. So after I finished removing all of that, I'm going to use some more of our vintage Laurel milk paint, and I'm going to be applying 2 coats. I'm not going to be doing much distressing or speeding up of the drying process here. I'm not a fan of that yellowy frame, so I really would prefer solid coverage on my frame. Once my paint was dry, I used a baby wipe and a razor to remove the paint from the glass. Because you're going to be able to see through the glass, I also decided to remove that hanging string there. I'll just add my own later. I'm then going to further secure the glass in place with some hot glue. There's already some attachments there to hold it in place, but to make it a little bit more secure, I thought that the glue would help. I'm then going to be using IOD's new Maze Roses transfer. This is a transfer that you piece together. So my first step was to remove the text from the center and then start to work out where I was going to have to cut the design. So we are going to lose some of the flowers, but we will get most of this design on the frame. I will just save any of those offcuts for other projects. So once I've worked out where I need to cut, I'm peeling off the backing and then carefully pressing down. Just make sure that you are sure of where you want it, because once this touches glass, it's going to start to come off. So I've got my transfer down. I'm doing a little bit of rubbing over the entire design, and then I'm picking a corner and starting to lift as I'm rubbing. This helps the design to begin to release, and I'm just going to repeat the same process until I have the entire transfer down. I've been wanting to do a project like this for a little while, but it can be hard to find vintage windows that are suitable to use, so I hope that this has inspired you to keep an eye out for frames that might work instead. For the next section, I need to consider where the rose is going to meet up with the other one. So I'm trimming off some of the excess paper so I can see where I have to crease and then cut my transfer. And then when I have it correct, I'm going to place it down just like before. If I get any excess transfer on the frame, I'm just going to scratch that off or even just paint over it. I'd rather have too much than too little in this case. So repeating the same process for up the top, making sure that I'm matching up where that rose connects with the bottom section, trimming off the excess, and then I am going to be able to start transferring it down. These are super easy to use on glass, but like I said, just make sure that you know exactly where you want it to go and don't let it actually touch the surface until you have it in the right position. I am going to continue to rub and burnish that down, and now I need to work out how I'm going to have my text. So you can see I cut off the excess to make sure it was all going to fit, and now I'm going to start to rub those down as well. Definitely take your time with the letters. They were a little bit fiddly, and I had to make sure that I had it all down and perfect, otherwise they tended to slip and move. So just take your time when you're doing this particular part. Down in the bottom left and right hand corners there was some gaps, so I decided to trim off some of the excess transfers and to apply those. You really can piece these together really easily. I just wanted to fill in these gaps so that none of that glue or the other part of the frame was visible. Finally, to make this look more like a window, I grabbed one of my handles that I had in my stash. This is just off a piece of furniture that I've done up in the past, and I'm going to hot glue that down. I just felt it made it look more like a window having that there. I'm then going to seal my milk paint on the frame with Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in clear. And here's a look at the finished project. I love how this turned out. I've been wanting to use this transfer for quite some time but hadn't found the right project, but this just turned out exactly the way I wanted it. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Our final project today is this sweet little duck that I found at the thrift store. I could see that he had been repaired at some point. He's just made of resin, his little feet are metal. We're going to give him a makeover. To begin, I'm going to be using some of Dixie Belle's chocolate chalk mineral paint that's been mixed with sea spray texture additive. I want to give this more of a stone look, like it's been out in the garden for years. The sea spray is going to create some wonderful texture to mimic that look, but it's also going to hide some of the repairs that have been done on this duck in the past. It's going to take 2 coats of this sea spray mixture to get the texture that I want. I'm just using an old chip brush to apply the sea spray. It adds to the texture, and also this mixture can be hard on your good brushes, so I don't tend to use them with sea spray if I can help it. My sea spray coat is completely dry, so now I'm using another chip brush to apply some of Dixie Belle's drop cloth chalk mineral paint. I'm applying it in a dabbing and stippling motion, also adding some more texture, and you can see that I am leaving certain sections unpainted so that that chocolate mixture is showing through. This is going to add to the vintage feel. Once that coat was completely dry, I sealed the little duck with Dixie Belle's Gloss Clear Coat. This is going to protect the paint, but it's also going to be a great base for our next step. If you've been watching me for a little while, you know that when I'm creating old world looks, I like to use a lot of layers. I feel like it really gives it an authentically aged look when you do that. Once my clear coat had completely dried, I used some of Dixie Belle's Au Naturel Voodoo Gel Stain. I use this like a glaze. I'm using a little fan brush to apply it in certain areas. If I've put it on a little bit too thick, I do grab my mister to water it down. This is a water-based product, so you can do that. And then once I have it spread, I'm going to use a combination of a paper towel and also a wet wipe to wipe back some of the excess. This product is going to fall into all of that beautiful texture that we created, and it's going to give it a really old weathered look. I'm going to work my way around the little duck, repeating the same process of applying the product and then wiping it back. It really is up to you how much of the product you wipe back. I like to have it be a little bit fainter because we are going to be coming in with another product next, and I want them to work well together. To create the look of moss, I am going to be using some of Dixie Belle's Juniper chalk mineral paint. This was a limited edition fall color, and I'm just applying some to the brush and then dabbing off the excess and then dabbing it onto the little duck. I am then using that same paper towel and the wet wipe to wipe back some of the excess. And as you can see, it really does give quite an authentic look of moss and age, and I think it just really adds to the character of this piece. I'm just going to apply it in random sections, and if I go a little bit too heavy, I can always water it down. So I'm repeating the same process and working my way around this sweet little duck to apply that green paint to mimic the look of moss. And if you don't have access to the same products that I'm using, you could create a paint wash to achieve a similar look, or maybe some colored waxes or a glaze. It really is up to you and what look you're trying to achieve. Next, I'm going to be applying some of Dixie Belle's Easy Peasy Spray Wax. This is going to be the base for our Dixie Dirt. I'm using charcoal today. I'm just applying a little bit on a brush in certain areas where I think that dirt and age would naturally occur, and then I'm wiping off some of the excess with a paper towel. If you don't have access to Dixie Dirt, you could perhaps mimic this look with some black wax. And here's a look at our finished little duck. I love how this turned out. I really feel like he looks like he's come straight out of a garden. I think that those products worked beautifully together. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments. I really hope that you have enjoyed today's video and that it's inspired you to create some garden style decor for your home. These were super easy and fun to do. Let me know if you had a favorite project in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button, comment, and share it out to a friend that you think might enjoy it. If you haven't already, I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find the products used today on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.